Every week, I get up here and talk to you guys about how great my life is. And it is. I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my life being here with you guys. Being with my wife, being in this winter wonderland, all of this. I am just having a ball. But I would hate for you guys to think that that meant that everything goes my way. If it was up to me, my wife would be surgically attached to my hip, which I told her when we met, by the way. I said to her, I'm one of these attached at the hip kind of guys. Are you up for that? And she said yes, and then it wasn't long before we both found out that really wasn't true. So I thought, well, maybe we'll get us surgically attached with a zipper so that, we could have some play there. But only I get to decide when we get unzipped. That didn't go over very well, as you might imagine. And yet, I have the greatest relationship I've ever had in my life. It doesn't look anything like. I imagine myself with some hippie girl. Imagine that. Didn't wear any makeup, and she imagined herself with somebody who liked to dress up once in a while. And yet, we have the best relationship we could have imagined. So it's really not about thinking what's going on. You say to yourself, I've heard people talk about these lists they make, right? Of this is the partner I want. And I even remember my son's last girlfriend, and I asked her, what do you like about my son? And she said he checked all the boxes. And that lasted about 6 months. And he checked all the boxes, And so you can make these lists, you can think what it is that you're looking for, and then all of a sudden and because you do that, you could actually miss something that is just so much better because it doesn't seem to fit your pictures. My life is as great as it is because I was willing to not let not fitting my pictures get in my way. Oh, this doesn't look the way I wanted to, so I'm not doing that. Oh, I didn't get what I really wanted here, so forget it. No. I was willing to look into it and go, since this is what's in front of me, since this is what showed up, let's see what's possible here. I was curious. I was willing to be with a lot of things that did not fit my pictures at all. Do you think I wanted to wind up in a winter wonderland? Do you think that was on my checklist? And yet I'm thrilled to be here unbeknownst to me. Right? I didn't expect to love this so much. And so I had this week. This was a great week for practice, spiritual practice. I mean, not that any week isn't, right? Nothing major happened this week. It was all minor, what would normally be irritating type stuff all week long that I got to look at and go, oh, I get to practice in this. Oh, I get to practice in this. One of the first things that showed up is I'm working with immigration. When I was in the States, I was not an immigrant, and it felt really bad for the immigrants who had to deal with immigration. Not bad enough, given what I'm going through now that I'm the immigrant. The amount of paperwork. And what's funny about that is when I showed up here, even before I showed up here, in the very first interview I had with your leadership team that interviewed me, I said, I don't do paperwork. I said it right off the top. I don't do paperwork. Well, this week, I've been doing a lot of paperwork over and over and over. And I kept going, okay, this is what's here. This is what's in front of me. This is what I need to do. And then I sent all the documents off to the consultants that the center hired to help me here. And then I got emails back saying, we still need this, 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 and this. And they were on the list that I just sent. And so I had to send it again. And again. And then a couple more things popped up. And these are the kinds of things that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, would have driven me nuts. I would have been up the wall. I would have been going over to that place and tearing them a new one. I would have. That was the guy I was. Instead, I was going, okay, this is where I get to grow. This is my growing edge, because that's how you get to have a great life. Keep pushing your growing edge. Notice what still gets you, what gets under your skin. I do every day. I get to notice what gets under my skin, and get to look at that and go, okay, what do I need to do to grow here? And that's how I've gotten to have such a great life, and gotten to be curious, and gotten stuff to show up that I would have never imagined I would have enjoyed so much. And when I'm noticing more and more, it isn't even really about what's going on out here. It's about what's going on in here. As the circumstances are becoming less and less important to look or be a particular way. Now, does that mean that things don't get under my skin ever? No. But it does mean that it's a lot less than it used to be, and I'm not out there tearing anybody a new one. And I'm really happy about that. I'm happy that I've grown to a place where I can be with myself when I'm feel that level of frustration start to come on, or upset, or anger, or whatever it is, and go, hold on, this is me. I get to feel differently about this. I get to see it as something, my opportunity for growth. And then I don't take it out on anybody else. I get to feel it myself. I get to grow, and I get to have an extraordinary life. The first day it was minus 18 around here. Friday, I think that was the second day. But anyway, me and Les had these plans. We were going out to Elk Island, right? So we go out, I dress up, and we go out there. And I dressed beautifully for it. I was not cold. What I had not anticipated was how much harder it is to walk in snow than it is on normal ground. And so I said, we're going to do 12K. And our original idea was 16K. And I thought, well, maybe I should cut it back a little because of the snow. So I cut it back to 12K. We were 8K in when we hit the buffalo. We hit the bison. We got some great pictures of us, just 50 feet away from the couple of bison. It was great. We had a great time. And I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. And we had 4K back to the car. And so I was like, okay. This is where I start saying stuff like, I have the power of the universe within me. I can do this. Plus, I chose to be here. I wanted to be here and do this. And so we start walking back, and Les is doing pretty good, and all of a sudden his glutes start hurting him a little bit too. And so we're going and we're walking, and we got about 2K to go. And now the only thing I can think about is 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. I can do this. 1 foot in front of the other. And I started envisioning myself already sitting in the car looking at all those photos we took with the buffalo. And that was it. And so instead of, which would have been me in the past, going, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? Oh my God, I could die here. I just want to lie down and die. I can't take another step. Didn't do any of that. But I noticed, wow, I didn't do any of that. Instead, I was like, okay, this is great. I get to really push myself here, and then, take some ibuprofen, maybe get into an Epsom salts bath when I get home. But I make it to the car and see the photographs, and the coolest part about it is I woke up on Saturday, and I'm like, I'm not sore at all. How did that happen? And then I went for another walk with John. Not as far. Nowhere near as far. But it's when you do that, right? When you really look into who you're being in the circumstance that may not be great, may not be exactly what you're looking at it to be. When you're willing to be in yourself with it, every day, more and more, I see that I get to create what I'm feeling, how I'm being. Not like, and I've told you this before, I've never been good at choosing my feelings. I don't know what they're talking about when I hear people say that, but I am very good at choosing my perspective. How I'm seeing this, how I'm looking at it. And I know that if I'm looking at something from a perspective that has me upset, pissed, frustrated, or any of those feelings that none of us really like very much, I know it's because of the way I'm looking at it. But there's another way to see this that will support me in shifting and enjoying this. Actually enjoying this. One of the things that happens when you're deep in this work, this spiritual work, is it becomes fun. I've heard people say, and I have been there, where the vigilance it takes to keep yourself, right action, to keep yourself in that place of wholeness, to keep your place in a place of awakeness, takes a lot of vigilance. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of work. And I have felt that way myself. And just recently, I've started to notice, actually, I love practicing. It's actually one of the most fun things I do, is practice, is bring myself back. It's actually fun now. You can get to a point in this work where it can be fun instead of feel like work to bring you back when you're upset. Because what I've noticed is that since I'm getting better and better at the shift, right? Not that I'm not feeling that frustration for whatever minutes I am, but then I notice, oh, look at me, I'm being frustrated, and then I go into the work of shifting, and I'm so glad I did. Because now I'm not frustrated anymore. Now I'm not upset anymore. Now I'm not angry anymore. I've shifted, and I could feel that I'm not just kidding myself because my whole body's relaxing in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, I've shifted, I'm fine now. You ever heard somebody say that? I'm fine. I'm not upset. I'm fine. That's not a shift. The shift is, oh, look at me, I'm not fine. Let me do the work to then get to that. To be in a place of awakefulness. To be in a place where I can actually grow from this. To be in a place where there's joy here. There's opportunity here. There's possibility here. That's what we have. Right? That's what's there when we're willing to take on the work that then becomes, for me now, the fun of taking a look at the shift that I need to have now. This week, Ash was supposed to be singing for you today, so that I just got to work on the talk, and she did most of the singing. But she was in Connecticut, came down with 102 fever and a really bad cough. Turns out she still has that, but she came home because I take better care of her than her sister would. And I wanted her to. I mean, I was missing her like crazy. She was gone all week. I was missing her like crazy. So come on home. And so she gets home last night, and she's coughing, and she's cranky. I haven't seen her a week, and she comes home cranky. Now, I just want to say that she doesn't get near as cranky as I do when I'm sick. All right? She's way better at it than I am. But, and so there it was again, my work to be done, right? To take care of her, to love her, to be with her. And so I brought her home, put her to bed, I'm an herbal. I do one of my hobbies is herbalism. And I got a whole bunch of different herb concoctions at home. So I filled her up with a bunch of herb concoctions, and she was feeling way better this morning. Not well enough to show up, which is good. You don't want to catch what she's got. Trust me. But she was feeling better. And so I once again, you're with your loved one. They're not behaving the way you'd like them to. You don't feel appreciated, right? I mean, I'm doing all this stuff for her. How come she's being cranky? Well, she's got 102 fever. Of course she's cranky. Who wouldn't be? Right? But it could still get personal if you let it, if you view it from that side of things. Right? So you got to look at which side are you viewing? Where are you viewing it from? What's possible here? How are you being curious even in that? And in that way, this morning, Ash and I had a beautiful loving moment before I came here to be with you guys today. And that's what's possible. Right? When we are willing to take full responsibility. There's this guy, this couple, Gay and Katie Hendricks. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but as far as I'm concerned, they are the consummate relationship people. And Ash and I spent a lot of time learning from those folks. And one of the things they talked about is if you want your relationship to work, are you willing to take 100% responsibility all the time for everything? And at first, the answer Ash and I had was no. But over time, we started realizing that actually this works. If no matter who you think is at fault, you take 100% responsibility, there's a shift that occurs and an opening that happens that allows you two to get closer, right? And then, of course, we recognize this has to be true for everything in life. Not just that relationship, our relationship with our work, our relationship with our friends, our kids. All of you here have our relationships with everything we deal with in life. The person I'm dealing with in terms of immigration, everybody, it's always there for me to take 100% responsibility for. And when I do that, my life's better. Because when we take 100% responsibility, and I want to be clear, that 100% responsibility is not taking the blame. All right? Because I hear people use the word responsibility when what they're really saying is, you're to blame. Or I'm to blame if they're doing it to themselves, right? I'm to blame. And here's how you know the difference. If it already happened in the past, that's to blame. If it's happening right, because we can only respond to the moment we have now. And so this is the moment. Are we responsible for this moment here? 100% responsible for who we're being right here and now in this moment. If it's something that already happened, sure, there's blame there. And if there's blame there, it can be shifted to responsibility by somebody doing amends or, I hear people ask for forgiveness. And there's an old adage, I don't know if you've ever heard this, that people who ask for forgiveness are really asking for permission to do it again. And that if you really want to see change, it's amends. What are you going to do in responsibility now to make amends for what occurred? And that's the difference, right? So it's okay if what you need for yourself is forgiveness, but there's a deeper healing that occurs when somebody takes full responsibility for wanting to make amends and having to do that in the present moment. The more we can be 100% responsible for whatever it is that's going on in our lives, even if we think we have nothing to do with it. We have everything to do with how we're being in it. How are you being in the moments of your life? How are you being when the rubber hits the road, when things get tough, when life just looks like it's, going south? How are you then? And I'm not talking about faking it, right? I'm not talking about positive thinking or being up-tempo about it. I'm talking about knowing the truth about who you are. Like I say at the beginning of every service, every celebration, that you are powerful, creative spiritual beings who come here to create a powerful life. You have that. But as long as your happiness is hanging on the hook of the circumstance that's occurring, remember, every time you choose something in particular to have, that means if you don't get it, you're hanging your happiness on that hook instead of in here. You're hanging your wakefulness on the hook instead of in here. That's what's possible is when we start looking at here and not hanging on what anybody else does, what anybody else says. They are not in charge of my joy. They are not in charge of my awakeness. They are not in charge of my compassion, my love for life, unless I let them. And we do that a lot. I do it still. Had dinner with Dale and Bill on Thursday night, and I was telling Dale how about once a week now, about approximately once a week, I have this experience of being one with the all. I get so deep into meditation that like I disappear. That happens now almost once a week. And she goes to me, if that's happening so often to you, how come you're still getting so fucked up about stuff? Okay. Yeah, that was a slip. Okay. And I said, I'm still practicing. Because that's what we're all doing. Still practicing. That's the key. Have fun with the practice. Have fun with the practice. Right? It isn't hard work once you once you start having the results of it and start seeing how much nicer, how much more flowing life is. You know, you get hooked, you unhook yourself. You get hooked, you notice you're hooked, you unhook yourself. You get hooked, you notice you're hooked, you unhook yourself. Time after time after time. And over time, the amount of time it takes to shift shrinks. And that's what I have going on, a shrinking amount of time that it takes to shift. That's what you can have. That's what we can all have if we stay in the practice instead of getting stuck in the circumstance. Don't hang your hook. Don't hang your joy on a hook. Keep it here and here, and your life can grow. And it's a beautiful way to live. Thank you. I love you.